Hey y'all, welcome back to my tennis podcast. I'm your host, TP. I like to think it stands for tennis professional even if my journey is far from complete on the road to pro. This week's episode is going to be a bit shorter since I'm in the process of moving houses. First, I would like to cover a bit about the French Open. Since last Thursday, there's been nothing but good tennis, but there haven't really been any upsets on the men's side. On the women's side, there's this new rising star called Lois Boysen, who just beat Jessica Pegula in 3 sets. But that's not all from Boysen, she also beat Mira Andreeva, who is the number 6 seed. And just today, Arina Sabalenka confirmed her dominance over Iga Swiatek by beating her 6-0 in the 3rd set. This week, I took a chief umpiring course by USTA, which is provided on the officiating website for free. Among the things I learned in that class was how to create a budget and manage a team of officials for a professional tournament, which then brings us to my meeting this week with the Drake Athletic Director in Iowa. Their university is open to hosting an event, however, there is a bit of renovation and fundraising for that renovation required before we can really host the number of courts we need for it. Regardless of that fact, I think it's going to be an absolutely amazing experience working with the people there because the facility staff for the tennis facility are absolutely amazing and they seem to know a lot about the sport and how to run stuff. I will say it's a bit of an interesting experience to go to all these places and see the kind of different cultures and stuff about tennis because, there's a lot of different ways that things are run and there's a lot of different facilities and different people and it's just really interesting to kind of learn all that. I will tell you, my tour of the facility was quite interesting, especially because Iowa State 2A team tennis got rained out this week. Although Des Moines is a large and great place, they don't have a lot of indoor facilities. One of those only indoor facilities is the Roger Knapp Center, and they decided to move the state matches inside when I was touring, which was fun. I will say it was a good experience because, I got to cheer one of my good friends from Joaquin Northwest, Vivek Kathari, on, which was nice, and he won in 3 against an absolute wall of a player from Iowa City West. However, yesterday was the final, and they did get to the final and actually win, but I wasn't able to be there because, of course, I was moving houses back in Omaha. A little life lesson, never move a house alone. It is the absolute worst experience ever. Anyway, this is tangential. Back to the tournament plan. I was looking at the USTA rules and regulations for an L4 money tournament, and as long as it's done within 5 days, it can still be done. So that means that we can still extend it maybe for like half a week instead of the 3 normal days. And, of course, this is all going to depend on 2 things. 1, our budget for how much we're able to spend for court reservation, and 2 will be the facility schedule, so whether or not they actually have events going on that week other than our tournament. I will say, it really seems to be like managing a business. I mean, it's very involved and complicated, and it should have a team of people, and, doing it just by myself right now with everything, getting the planning part done, is taking a long time, and a lot of effort and calculations, so this might be something we do in 2026 or 27 even. Unfortunately, due to the rain and the state tournament, I wasn't really able to play on the course to get a feel for how fast they are, so we won't really have a gauge going into it until I do that for the tournament. And playtesting is very important because it lets you know kind of which courts are usable and unusable and kind of where you put what matches. For instance, you would not put a final match for, a money tournament on a court with a lot of cracks or one big crack on the side or a slant or anything, so it's just making sure that everything is perfect for the conditions. Because, no offense to the directors of the other tournaments that I played in for money, but playing on public courts is kind of not the best, because you have a lot of cracks, there's a lot of weird bounces and everything, and it doesn't really feel like a professional tournament. I'm hoping that this playtesting kind of remedies that situation. My next meeting is going to be on June 21st, and that's going to be with the First Serve Tennis Academy director, Isabel Wustapal. She and I have known each other for a few years. There's a tournament she hosts called the Isabel Open at the Academy, and I kind of beat her in the final the other year, and it was a really fun tournament. And it just so happens that her Open tournament is on June 21st, so I will be meeting with her on the day of her Open, which is great, and I hope that we can have nice conversation while she runs the tournament, because it's going to be busy, but it's going to be really fun. And maybe we can even get her as a guest for the podcast that week, we'll see. As for kind of training with my back injury this week, I've started kind of playing a couple sets here and there just to try to kind of test my limits and see if my PT has been actually putting in some work for me. I'm really hoping to get back into playing shape by June 21st so I can play in that tournament. The First Serve Tennis Academy is located in Sioux City, Iowa, and hosts 8 courts, 6 indoor and 2 outdoor. But anyway, as I said, moving houses this week, so this episode is going to be a little bit shorter. Thanks for listening to today's episode of TP's Tennis Podcast. I've been your host, TP. New episodes of the podcast can be found on our YouTube channel, Thomas Pate, at 5 p.m. on Thursdays. As always, please leave what you would like to hear about next in the comments, and I will see you all next Thursday.